Guys, basketball happened over the weekend. Some of it good, a lot of it not. But we're going to start with Warriors and Rockets. Golden State with a one-game lead. Yep, they steal home court down there. Steph and Jimmy. It's a 95-85 win, 31 for Steph, 25 for Jimmy Butler. Şengün finished with 26 points and 9 rebounds. But yes, you heard those numbers correctly. Steph and Jimmy with 56 of Golden State's 95 points. I'm wondering, Boogie, is there a duo right now in these here playoffs that you're taking over those two?
Absolutely. I mean, I can go with the duo of Jalen Williams and Shea. I mean,
Wow.
But there's no knock to the Warriors. I think, you know, this is one of their better showings. We spoke on this earlier in the year. When they're a good defensive team, the Warriors are a tough team to beat. Obviously, experience matters in the playoffs. This is another prime example of that. You know, for some reason, the narrative in today's game is if you're older, you're no longer valuable.
In today's game.
Yeah, in today's game. But obviously, they show otherwise, and this is a very, very tough team. They'll continue to be a tough team throughout the playoffs. They beat a tough young team in the Rockets in game one. But, you know, I think experience matters, and I think defense matters, and they showed that.
We can make a case for a lot of duos, right?
Sure.
But this duo works for Golden State. I like the way that Jimmy and Steph, they're able to play together. You know, we know what type of threat Steph is behind the three-point line. But again, we know playoff basketball is about half court. How can you execute? Where can you throw the ball? How can you get free throw attempts? How can you get drives to the basket? Things that are going to slow the game down for you to be efficient as possible, especially when teams are trying to take away options. So when things start drying up for Steph Curry, what do? You give the ball to Jimmy Butler. He can play with his back to the basket. He can face up. Obviously, he can get to the free throw line. And in playoff basketball, that's so essential. And it showed in that first game. Their experience showed. The style of play showed. Like, they just trumped the Houston Rockets at every stop that they could possibly do it.
Yeah, there's a duo in Boston that's pretty good. That's still the champs.
Yeah.
Brown and Jason Tatum,
And
the young
White.
duo that DeMarcus talked about, LeBron and Luka. There's a bunch of good duos, but like Lou said, this duo fits and they work and they play off each other, and you can't show as much attention to Steph when now you got Jimmy with a mismatch on the post and a block up, and you can't jump on the screen because Jimmy and Jim, they play so smart and they play well together, and they have two closers instead of just running Steph off all these screens. So him and Jimmy, they fit beautifully together. Their defense has been unbelievable ever since he's gotten there, but they're an experienced, winning, tough duo, but there's a lot of good duos out there.
It's perfect because you can see Golden State go through their progressions. Like, they go option one, option two, option three. Then when you get short on the shot clock, you got Jimmy Butler that you can throw it to that can get you to the free throw line, or he can just play bully ball, get a layup, or even a jump shot. Like, that's so deadly for, especially when you're paying so much close attention to Steph Curry running off a screen. Once you stop that, you still got a threat that you can throw the ball into. It's deadly, and it's going to be a long series for Houston to deal with that.
Here's what I'm wondering, too, because Steph Curry, the last time these two teams played, just had the 3 points, and a lot of people were like, ooh, Amen Thompson is the X factor. He's figured it out. And, he's a young guy. I'm sure he walked into this game with a certain bit of confidence, and then this happens. Like, if you're him and you're the Rockets, what do you take away from it?
No, he's a great defender, but we hadn't found a guy yet that can guard Steph Curry.
There's no such thing as a Steph.
It's not a Steph-Stopper.
No,
we won't start that. We won't start that at this particular time in Steph's career. But, the last time that they met, he did have 3 points on 1 of 10 shooting. 8 of those were three-pointers.
That's the shot, by the way. That was stupid.
Yeah,
was a dumb shot.
8 of those were three-pointers. That just tells me Steph is still shooting the shots that he wants to shoot, that he wants to get off, but they didn't go down. And 10 attempts shows me everything that I need to know about that box score. It just wasn't his night. They threw the towel in. I don't think that had much to do with Amen Thompson, and it showed in last night's game. But he's a quality, solid defender, but we don't have any Steph-Stoppers.
Look at those highlights. There's no human being on the planet that can stop him. And Dylan Brooks is a great defender. Thompson is a great defender. Tyree Easton, there's multiple guys you can put on Steph Curry to make it more challenging, give him more length, be more physical with him. And they tried to be super physical with him all night long. They were holding him before the whistle. They were top blocking him. They tried a bunch of different tactics and coverages, and it still doesn't work. So I think it is promising that, it hopefully doesn't hit these kind of crazy shots at an efficient level. But, man, there's no such thing as a Steph-Stopper.
That one on the side, Kevin Harlan was like, the physics of that shot don't make sense. Like, it looked like something anybody else would do would be a garbage shot, and yet somehow for Steph. That's the thing. Can we talk Rockets for a second? Because the experience coming in was obviously going to be the underlying factor of what they don't have. 21% from three. Jalen Green and Van Vliet went a combined 7 of 34 from the floor. So I'm wondering, Chandler, bad day. Veteran teams are just going to be able to pick them apart. What is this?
Well, this is exactly why the Warriors are favored as a 7 seed to win this series, and they showed it last night. They're experienced, and the Rockets are going to win some games in this series if they continue to hold them under 100 points like they did, and their defense is solid. And Steph Curry did go bananas and hit some big shots, but Jalen Green's got to be better. He's got to be more efficient. He's had a great year all year long, so I don't get too high, too low on this performance. But it speaks volumes of the inexperience of this team and moving forward that they got to be better offensively. Even Fred, he had an off night. Sengun did his thing. He was great. Jabari Smith gave them, some good minutes. But Jalen Green can't just be this high volume, bad shot taking guy in the playoffs. They were better last night in the fourth quarter without him on the floor. That's an issue as one of your main guys.
Do they miss I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. This is one game. But if they don't make it, or if it doesn't end the way they probably had hoped it would, what's missing for Houston?
Oh, man, I think they actually have a really good problem on their hands. They obviously have their foundational pieces in Sengun, Thompson, and I would even keep a guy like Dillon Brooks. I think those type guys are winning players and championship caliber guys. But they have the assets, they have the pieces to move. They can go get 2 superstars to add to that starting lineup.
Holy cow.
Why not go get a Trae Young or a Ja Morant to run your point, and then add a guy like Kevin Durant? You easily move into a top 3 team in the West. You actually have a chance at competing in the West, and now you have championship aspirations. So I think Houston's in a really good spot. It's not always a bad thing to be young and inexperienced and have assets, and obviously, like I said earlier, they have a good problem on their hands. So
but do you stunt the growth of these young guys that they're grooming into being young superstars?
Not at all.
Bring in so much star power?
Not at all. And the reason I say that is you now give them the purpose to play meaningful basketball. That's a part of the growth in this game. If they're competing every year to be, a championship team, you have no choice but to grow. You get around guys like Kevin Durant, who's been through the fire multiple times. They're learning from. They're getting first-hand experience, and like I said, now you're competing for meaningful basketball. You add a guy like Ja Morant or Trae Young, it only increases the importance of that season. So I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's all part of the growth, and I don't think that's a bad play for them moving next season.
And to bring in a Kevin Durant or John Morant or Trae Young like that, you're probably going to have to get off Jalen Green. I would think he's the one that has to go as part of that package with the Jabari Smith, with the Reed Shepherd, who knows how good he can be, but he hasn't got the minutes yet. But that would be a huge splash because, again, they have invested in them. Last year, it was a question. Remember, can they play together? Can they be good? Well, they played together this year, and they're the 2 seed. So I don't think there's a reason to panic. Even if they do lose to this more experienced Warriors team, they're still building something special there. They still have a great coach, and they probably have the most assets in the NBA outside the Oklahoma City Thunder. So they're in a great spot regardless.
So you're going to, granted, he had a 3 for 15 night, so I hate to even have this conversation right now, but he's not always like that, Jalen Green. So you would just sort of move on past him already? I
wouldn't. I don't agree with Chandler and Boogie on this one because, again, you've spent the money already. You've shown that these are the 2 young guys that you're prepping to be the up-and-coming guys. And I don't want to overreact over one game. Like, we can make the argument that Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry are the 2 best players in this series, even in a 7 seed. So it's no surprise that they went out and won game 1. It'll be a great series to come. We'll see what these guys are really made of. We'll make an assessment after that. But again, when you bring in a Trae Young or a Ja or a KD, you automatically have to shift your attention towards those guys. The one thing that I do agree with Boogie on is you can see greatness up close and personal. But if I'm putting that ball in your hands and I'm telling you to push us forward as an organization, you bring in Kevin Durant, that's going to be his job. And so that kind of stunts your growth, and that's where we disagree with them.
Right now, there's potential, right? There's a long runway with this group. You go and get off Jalen Green, who's super young right now, he's not even close to his prime, and you bring in a Kevin Durant. Now there's expectations and pressure to win right now. Absolutely. So it kind of shifts the whole mindset of where the Rockets are. They have their core going forward. I'd like to see them add something different. I am just saying, if they were to make a move, they were going to go make a splash and get one of those guys, Jalen Green's the guy I want on the other side. So he's got to be in that deal.
Can I ask a mindset question for players? Because I get the Kevin Durant. He has been there at the top of the mountain, done all that. But if you're a 2-seed Houston Rockets team with all these young guys, very talented, and they come to you and say, we're bringing in a Trae Young or a Ja Morant, is there a part of you as the Rockets where you're like, well, why are you replacing us with them?
Don't fix what's not broke, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, one of those guys, I think that's looked at differerly because they're still pretty young. Now, when you bring in a Kevin Durant, that's different. He's at the later stages of his career. Now, you bring him in, you're saying, yo, we're trying to do this now. We don't have a lot of time. Like, we don't have 1 or 2 years to warm into it when you have a Kevin Durant. Now, Trae Young or Ja Morant, there is some wiggle room there to build something. But you show a different side of yourself, like when you bring somebody in. Again, these guys are the 2-seed at the end of the day. Yes, they lost game 1, but they've shown you we have enough in-house now to compete at a high level.
And also, you've worked so hard for all these assets. You're really just going to give them up for the opportunity to win in the next 2 or 3 years with a Kevin Durant. It's fair. It's a problem to have, but it's a good problem to have. When you have all that, we haven't even talked about like Cam Whitmore. Like he's someone that people would want. So that is a great situation that they have, win or lose. Again, there's a reason why they're underdogs in this series as a 2-seed.
I mean, but we talk about them being a 2-seed. Is that not some type of form of pressure of competing for a championship? If you're the 2-seed in the regular season.
That's what I'm saying. They there already.
All right, so why is it now looked at as taking a step back if you bring in – I mean, obviously the purpose is to win the championship if you're the 2-seed in the West. Right. So now at this point, we bring in a Kevin Durant, we bring in a Trae Young or a Ja Morant. Is that
because if I'm a young player, I'm like, what is Trae and Ja done?
Well, again, you just said it. They already competing for a championship in the position that they're in. So if it don't go there, let's say they get out of this round or whatever, and you go make a big splash like that. What confidence are you instilling in the guys that you had already? That these guys that you developing
the confidence is the guys we're bringing in. We're bringing in top tier guys.
But I'm gonna have to. Everybody ain't gonna make it, Boogie.
We ain't worried about everybody. We worry about the guys that did. But also worried about everybody.
I don't care about the 2-seed right now.
This sport is heartless.
Are the Houston Rockets a championship team this year? No. So the 2-seed means nothing, right? It means they had a great season. They're not a championship team this year.
I think they're a really, really good regular season
For sure.
team. I think they're full of potential.
They're great.
But potential doesn't win championships. Production does. And that's what they're going to bring in with a guy like Kevin Durant, Ja Morant, or Trae Young. Production.
I don't know about that. Okay, so that's...
Yeah, I'm going to let it go.
That's that. I mean, well, look, we got the rest of the week. They're going to play again, so there'll be more to talk about.
And by the way, the minute they win the next game, it's all square.
This conversation. It's okay.
And then Jalen Green's safe. Once he has 40.
Jalen Green.
That's the beauty of the system. So that was a home court stolen situation. We got another one out here in Los Angeles with the T-Wolves coming to town, taking care of business against the